On the sidelines of RE Invest 2015, we have with us a very special guest here. He is Mr. Probhir Ghosh from USA. He is running an organization called as Case Bharat. He will be speaking on the topic, say, small and medium enterprises and the financial challenges with regard to these enterprises so far as the renewable energy is concerned. Welcome to our show, sir.
Thank you, Santosh.
Mr. Probhi, you will be talking about these financing challenges for small and medium enterprises. It seems very difficult for the small time or the medium time entrepreneurs to enter into the venture of renewable energy. So, how far do you think is feasible for these entrepreneurs to go into this kind of activity?
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity. Yes, there has been challenges in the past, and even currently there are lots of challenges. But it's like when you are born, you first learn to walk, and then you learn how to run, and then you get all the systems coordinated, all the functions coordinated. So what we have been doing so far is we have lots of great entrepreneurs and NGOs and the government that has put up lots of these small plants, and we have learned a lot from that. Now what we need to see is how do we make this into a holistic program that actually delivers income growth. The areas we are especially interested in is the bottom of the pyramid, the millions of villagers and households who are living in the villages. So instead of just focusing on energy, what we should focus on is how do we help them in their income grow sustainably in the future. And two key things that comes to our mind is education and energy are critical. So one of the things that we are looking at is just like education, basic education is now a must and is available for free to everybody. We are looking at can energy and power, can that basic power and basic energy, can those be available to the bottom of the pyramid and to help them grow their income? And that's what we are looking at.
Mr. Probhi, that is the main question that now presently India is facing. Like we do have a lot of demand for the energy, but at the same time the supply is very less, you can say. And this government has put a very ambitious target as well regarding like getting energy, nearly 170 gigawatt of energy, generating energy from the renewable sector. So how far these targets according to you is feasible, and how can these be achieved?
It's a very good question. When you're at the bottom of the big mountain, you always think that it's almost impossible for me to climb this mountain, right? But if you look at any technology that has happened in the past, let's take for example the cell phone revolution that happened in India, right? If you told somebody that every person in India today would have a cell phone, they may not have a roof over their head, they may not have something to eat, but they have a cell phone. About 15 years ago, people would have thought that you are crazy, right? Today, almost everyone in India in the remotest corners have cell phones because they are doing this because it's giving them all the things they need, and it's become an essential for the people. It's the same thing with energy. So if you look at technology curve, there's something called the inflection point. That means it's a start of an S curve. So we are at the bottom, okay? There's something that triggers this S curve. In every single technology that has happened in the past, there's always something that triggers that S curve, and then you get that sudden huge growth path.
So you mean to say that we are at the triggering point, the trigger is already been set, and then
you
we'll
have
be at the
you have
exponential
got that right.
Okay.
So the real reason is in US during President Kennedy's time, they had this moonshot program because the Russians launched the satellite and US was nowhere. So President Kennedy came and said, we will have somebody on the moon within 10 years. They had no idea how to do that. They all focus started, just like Prime Minister Modi have said that this is what the renewable energy target should be, which is 5 to 6 times more than what we had imagined before. Now in US nobody knew how to do it. So, and they had people on the moon within 10 years.
Okay.
Now forward fast this, just a few years ago, President Obama started a program called Sunshot program, and that is to get energy, solar energy at $1 a watt, which is about 60 rupees a watt. Okay. The phenomenal thing is, while US and developed countries are looking at how to get to that number, India has already achieved that.
Oh, great.
Okay. So today we are at 60, 65 rupees a watt for the larger programs. Okay. And we have just scratched the surface. Okay. We are at this S curve, and the trigger point and the inflection point for India is if we can now get power parity for solar and wind and biomass, we will see this inflection of growth, exponential growth in the next 6 years. So I think we've got the right government who is thinking of not only growth. I have had this tremendous opportunity to work with C.K. Prahlad and Gary Hamel, who had written Competing for the Future. It became one of the best-selling books, and I've followed that. But even more important, he has also written A Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid for India, and he has worked a lot on energy access. So what we are seeing is a huge exponential growth potential possibilities, and we as CASE Bharat, which stands for Catalyst for Accelerating Sustainable Energy, are hoping to help that.
Okay, lot of possibilities. Only thing is we need to utilize in a proper manner. As yesterday also, Honorable Prime Minister has spoken about one very critical aspect, that is integrating various energy resources and establishing the power plants.
Right.
So, how far these technologies are feasible, and what is the status, say in USA, because you are presently based in USA, and how this really operates in USA?
So there are two things I'd like to say about that. Okay, 2 or 3 things I'd like to say about that. One is, I think we can learn tremendously from what developed countries have done. But what people forget is, when you are innovating, there are lots of things that you make mistakes. In innovation point, there are lots of things. So what I'd say is, it's very important to learn from what the developed countries have done, but even more important is to know what mistakes they have done and not make the same mistakes again. That's one. The second part is to see how do we adapt what has been done in the developed countries to Indian conditions. These are very, very different issues. I am working with Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala out of IIT Chennai, who has done some phenomenal work in telecom, and now he is focusing on energy access. So I'd like to now bring the second question you had of Prime Minister Modi saying, how do we integrate these different things and bring it into a holistic picture? And that's exactly what we are focusing. I'll give you an example. Okay, we are talking about solar and wind to do hybrids in these energy access for the bottom of the pyramid with distributed energy. India has a huge potential with bioenergy. If we can now, so one of the key questions people ask is, solar and wind is intermittent. It's renewable energy, but it's intermittent. So how do we make it stable? If you now combine it with bioenergy and generate not only efficient cook stoves and food, and you can now get with efficient cook stoves, you can now generate that extra energy that comes out, extra biomass that comes out to generate electricity and power. Not only electricity and power, it can also heat up. Say for example, there are many disparate things happening in the rural areas, right? One is we waste about 30 to 50% of produce that's produced, whether it's vegetables or milk, because they don't get to the cities in time. Now, if we've got our own biomass plant that can now feed and help a small village industry to have produce, pack these, make these produce into finished products. We can chill the milk. We have now provided 30% more income to the villagers. That itself is a huge exponential jump. So what we are saying is a holistic approach to this problem. I'm not saying it's easy, but just like I said about the cell phone, what we can do inside, what we can tell the villagers is, here is a simple approach that we can do that can change their lives, and we believe it will.
Great, Probhir. It was nice talking to you. Learning from the mistakes of the others, developed nations, and then adopting great technologies, and lot of optimism, lot of positivity, and though the ambitious targets, but achievable. That is what the Probhir is speaking about this RE Invest Summit. So it was great talking to you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Our
Great,
best
great
wishes to you.
talking to you, Sumit.
Thank you.